What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're going to talk about the Until Dawn Remake because it technically released today, and apparently it is a buggy mess with bad frame rates, incredibly messed up visuals, hard crashes, and it's triple the price of the original. But let's talk about why perhaps you should not buy it. Let's get into it. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So when I woke up this morning, I saw a bunch of reviews for the Silent Hill 2 remake, and honestly, they're insane, but I noticed a lot of people just not talking about Until Dawn, which to me was a bit shocking because I thought there was at least some hype for this project. Now, if you never played it, the original version of Until Dawn was a PlayStation 4 masterpiece. It was practically an interactive horror movie with actually good branching paths, permanent character deaths. It was extremely good. In fact, you can see this is the PlayStation Hits version because I think it sold a couple million copies. I love this game. In fact, this is my second copy that's factory sealed because the original I've played so much I bought it digitally. But what I noticed is a lot of people who have had early access to it are kind of saying that in some places it's actually unplayable. So, the weirdest part about this remake is that it is just the original game, but instead of being 60 FPS, it's 30 FPS, and they completely redid the lighting engine. Now, let me be clear, the game is supposed to be dark and spooky. I mean, not only is it a horror game, but a lot of people actually say that the weird color palette to it, the blueness of it and stuff, that was a purposeful decision. But let's go through some tweets here. The Until Dawn remake runs worse than the original, has a lot more bugs and crashes. It also costs $60 for some reason. I cannot recommend you buy it at release. It's worse than the original in the current state. I think part of the reason I'm so annoyed by these constant remakes and remasters that PlayStation specifically has been doing this more than anybody else, which is funny because I feel like we used to make fun of Nintendo for remastering games over and over again, but this entire project feels so bizarre because the original game already was just a really unique experience. If anything, it feels like they could have just done a cheap remaster or something. How big was the budget on this? That's what I always think about when I see remakes that are just this identical to the original. Here we go. Watching streamers try to play the Until Dawn remake is incredible. Just an endless stream of why is the 30 FPS? The original was 60 and it crashed again. Do I have to redo that whole section? Garbage. How do you even make Unreal Engine 5 break that bad? Now, I have heard that UE5 is a really good engine that's really easy to work with, and it's very optimized. So whenever you see a game that crashes just constantly on Unreal 5, it's impressively bad. Now, I was actually looking at a lot of the comments. I did see Susie Hunter here talking about the fact that why the heck does this even exist? But I did also notice this, which is that people are saying the game runs at 60 FPS now. And this is a good point that I actually kind of forgot about. This is one of the guys that works at Digital Foundry, which is that the original version ran at about 25 FPS if you were playing it on a standard PlayStation 4. It ran a bit better on a Pro, and now if you play the original version on a PlayStation 5, it's a rock solid 60 FPS. Now, a lot of people are also pointing out the fact that the original version is not just dirt cheap, like literally $10 on eBay, but even if you do buy it digitally, like I did, where I have my digital version and my physical version, it's $20. It's also on PlayStation Plus. So paying $60 is so bizarre. They should have done like a $10 digital upgrade or something. I hate when they call a game a remake. Maybe that's just a personal gripe of mine, but when you make a game that is identical to the original, but you call it a remake, I feel like it implies something bigger and extra. Now, they did technically add 2 extra lines of dialogue. If you survive as the main character, or I'm trying to be vague, they did add in a new ending that kind of hints at maybe getting an Until Dawn 2 at some point, since not a lot of people lived through the original version of the game. But like when I think of remake, I think of something like this, where you have completely recreated the game to be bigger, better, different, great. You know, the Until Dawn remake does not compare to any other horror remakes, and I feel like that's part of what irks me. But Here's the other aspect of it, which is the lack of flair. Like, the original game has this blue tint to it, this blue filter. That is a purposeful choice. That's not a glitch. That's not an accident. The original directors, the original creators wanted it to have this, like, creepy glow to everything. They weren't going for hyperrealism. They were going for a stylistic decision. Now, I'm super obsessed with horror, specifically horror movies, horror games, horror books, just anything, the spookiness, but I like when a game does something different, when it tries to not just play different or be different, but when it actually even looks different. This was a decision. So the fact that they decided to remove it to go for more hyper-realism, like when I look at these two screenshots, they look like different decisions were made, but they don't look better. In fact, look, even in the comments, people are saying, I like the original. The orange light of the PS5 comes off as too warm. The original feels more spooky. I find it interesting that everybody's pointing out the fact that the graphics are barely better. These kind of remakes and remasters are annoying to me because even if you do want to say, okay, they put in their hard work, they redesigned how the faces look, they redesigned a lot of the character models, does this really count as a new game? God, look at this. Until Dawn Remake has an option to remove the black bars, but instead of getting a full 16:9 experience, you just get a zoomed in freaking copy of the game. Oh my God. It's just bizarre to me that games like this, I feel like they're beginning to lose a bit of their charm. I think there has been a struggle with remakes and remasters because when you're actually redoing something, you do have a difficult job. You know, a lot of times it's like, okay, I think I heard somebody at Nintendo once say that remakes are difficult because it's like redoing a painting. It's painstaking to repeat your previous work, but trying to make it better. And I respect that. I understand that remakes are probably difficult. It's hard to go back and, redo a project like this. But when I look at these two pictures, this to me, maybe I'm crazy, this to me looks better. The original version actually looks better. I think it has more style to it. It has more effort to it. It has more than just photorealism. I really wish they just ported Until Dawn instead of outright remaking it on a completely new engine because this new pause screen just looks worse. The lack of moody blue colors is so bizarre. Why does her hair look so big and unnatural in the remake as well? It all comes down to personal taste, but I think I'm going to call this video Do Not Buy the Until Dawn Remake because I honestly do think it's not as good as it could have been. I know this very viral tweet here refers to it as a scam, I think, but it's the kind of thing where I feel like when it comes to video games, I'm more and more getting into the idea of stuff that's different, even if it is worse. Somebody pointed out the fact that sometimes I'll give a game that's like a 7 out of 10. I'll have more fun with it than other reviewers and stuff like that. I think I'm coming up to this part of my life where even if somebody makes a game that is bad or weird or whatever like that, I think I'm beginning to appreciate when somebody really swings for the fences. When someone tries to do something that is just so bold and so weird that even if they fail, at least they ended up outside the typical experience. The constant remakes, the constant remasters that are lazy more than anything else are beginning to genuinely piss me off. Give me remakes in the vein of what Silent Hill 2 did or what Resident Evil is doing. Give me stuff that actually feels not just respectful to the original source material, but builds upon it to make something new. All right, these are just some off-the-cuff thoughts. How do you guys feel about this? Tell me your thoughts about the Until Dawn Remake in the comments down below. And I also have a video coming up here today. Am I allowed to say that it's about Diablo 4? And its expansion? That's coming out in a couple hours. So if you're excited for the Diablo 4 expansion, which obviously I have a big Diablo 4 tattoos, I am, but be ready for that video. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.